Hi. Okay, so I just saw a notification go out for this stream, so hopefully more people will be able to see that we're live, if YouTube lets us. Yeah, already more people. Okay, so this live stream is going to be about raw food for dogs. Now, we're going to get started in a few minutes. I like to give it like 5 minutes to chat, say hi to people. So if you're watching this after it's recorded, then skip to 5 minutes into the stream. Oh, I think his door closed. Hold on. Okay. Whoops. Oh, hello, everybody. Hi. Hi, Moonlight, Mayor, Marcy, the Awesome Kid, Piggy Plays. Hi, everybody. Oh, hi, Megan Elizabeth, Rat Tails. Okay, so yeah, let's so first off for this chat, we'll get started like I said at 5 minutes in. It's 1 minute so far. And what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about raw food. I'm going to be reading some of the comments I've gotten like in regards to raw food. I actually got a comment today because this morning I was like, oh, I need to come up with a subject for today's live stream because I usually do it like on Saturday or Sunday, but I was really busy, so I didn't do it. So I was like, oh, what should I talk about? And then I got this comment about raw food, and I was like, that's what we need to talk about. We need to talk about because people have a lot of questions about it. They have a lot of confusion and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you want me to incorporate you into it and answer your questions, just make sure that they stay on topic. I'm going to be reading through the comments during the stream to see what you guys have to say about it, and that's kind of how it goes from there. So let's see. First off, I wanted to give some updates. So I've been active on Amino recently, and I've been posting stories, which is really fun. It's just little videos that I do of the animals and then post it up for you guys to be able to see them. And it's exclusive content for Amino, so you don't get to see it like on Instagram or YouTube or Twitter. It's all just on Amino. So check that out. Some of the groups that I'm in, I wanted to give a shout out to. Also because I've been accused of being a fake account, and it's kind of funny. I guess it's cool that people think that I'm impersonating myself. I don't know. But yeah. So for example, on the Birds Amino, I got accused of having a fake account, and it's not. It's me, and you can actually tell because if you click on my profile, right underneath my name, it says verified and has a little green bar with a check mark. So that's how you know that it's the real me. And so this is the Birds Amino. And I really like the Birds Amino. That's probably one of my favorite ones that I'm on. So definitely check them out. Some of the other ones that I'm on is let's see, this one's pets, and it's just pets. It has like a little dog house next to the word pets. Let's see, what other ones have I enjoyed? This one, let's see, what is the whole name? Reptiles and Exotic Pets. So that one's also one that I really liked. There's also the guinea pigs Amino too, and that one's really friendly. I think the guinea pig community online can be kind of harsh sometimes. So that one is actually, the people are very friendly. So join those. You should join the Amino called Dogs. Yeah, that's a good idea. I will try to join that one. Let's see. Going through the comments. Okay, so let's basically jump into it now. So the reason I thought of doing this topic is because I've gotten a lot of comments about raw food and stuff like that, even over the weekend. Let's see. So this person, this is Billinor Diane Spina, and she says, what about salmonella poisoning with raw chicken? I was going to start raw feeding my dogs until I read about how many pets were getting sick from it. So this was a comment on YouTube that I got today in the morning, and that's why it gave me the idea for this video. And I got another comment over on Instagram. On Instagram, I try to do Q&As often. So this last weekend, I did one, and I answered a bunch of questions. And one of them was that a kid was saying that their parents said no to feeding the dog raw because it would make them sick. And so um, this kind of like, all goes into it is like the same thing that this woman said here. And what I said from it is it's actually more dogs are getting sick from kibble than raw food. And I think that the idea that dogs are getting sick from raw food comes from recent videos that have been uploaded on YouTube. Now, so see, I like almost never call somebody out in a YouTube video or talk about somebody doing a YouTube video that I didn't like or something like that. I almost never do that. But the reason I'm going to bring up this video today is one, because it is so incredibly biased and so wrong and just completely misleading. And two, because the creator of this video used my clips. They actually took video from my channel and used it for their video without giving me credit. And he didn't do this to just me. He actually did this to um, a couple of people. One of them's Dr. Karen Becker, and she has YouTube videos here on YouTube, but she's a veterinarian that advocates a lot for raw diet and just really natural, holistic pet care in general. And then the other people that he took video clips from, I actually don't know who they are. And you can't even find out who they are because he did not reference us. And that was so frustrating and I think so dishonest. It's like there's tons of videos out there on YouTube. There's several videos on YouTube that are about me and they're negative. And they're people that are talking very badly about me and just totally disagreeing with things that I promote or things that I do or say, whatever. But all of those videos talk about, in general, like who I am and what's going on and their opinion. And I think that's valid. Like you can have response videos. That's not the type of videos I make because I focus on like my own content basically. But I think that that's fine as long as it's under the correct use of copyright. But this guy just used clips from my video and other people's videos without saying anything about it. It's just basically saying these people are wrong. Don't listen to them and saying that all of us are saying things that the veterinary community completely disagrees with. And so I guess if he had have actually said who we were, then he would have had to have said that one of those women in the video is a veterinarian and has been a veterinarian for a very long time. So that was pretty annoying. So yes, let me tell you first. Just checking the comments really quick. So let me give you the name of this person that's been doing that. I can't remember it. I have to like look at it. I sent him a tweet actually about why he didn't include the information from the people that he took video clips from, but no response. I think it's just completely dishonest, and it would make his video and his opinions less valid. So that's why he's not doing it. But his name is Andrew Woods, and his YouTube channel is just Andrew Woods. And the video that I'm talking about is Stop Feeding Raw Food to Your Pet. Let's see. It has 24,000 views as of right now, and the dislikes to likes are crazy. So he has 361 likes and then 1,400 dislikes. So it was a very disliked video in general. The a lot of the points he made are just completely incorrect. But I'm bringing it up because it's so incorrect, and on top of that, he stole content from other creators, and I think part of the reason this woman on the comment is saying that dogs are getting sick from it is because in this video he says that dogs are getting sick from it, and that's not necessarily true. There are raw food companies that make raw food for dogs that have issued recalls, and that's something that happens. But if you compare it to the kibble companies that have issued recalls for that food making dogs sick, it's a huge difference. There are tons and tons of recalls when it comes to kibble. And two, most people that feed their dog raw actually prepare it themselves. They don't buy from a company. In fact, it's difficult to buy from a company. It's super expensive because if you don't live in the city it's being produced in, you have to have it shipped to you in ice coolers or frozen, things like that. And then if most of us, don't live in cities where we can access that. I think if you live in somewhere like San Francisco or Los Angeles, like you can probably find a shop like a boutique that sells raw dog food that's pre-packaged. But honestly, most people in the United States are just doing their own raw food by going to the grocery store and buying food there. The same as if you would buy food for yourself. And even if you're buying food for yourself, there is a possibility that meat or vegetables or something like that could actually get recalled. You can get sick, but it is so unlikely. It happens, but it's not something that's just happening all the time. And with kibble companies, they are getting recalled more often. So that's one of the things that I mentioned to this person. I commented back and I did say that statistically, it's actually kibble that's making dogs sick more often because of the recalls. Yeah. So, and that's one thing that this guy did not mention in his video is that um, he didn't mention that kibble gets recalled. So I think that's something really important to know. Then I went on to say that so raw chicken isn't going to make your dog sick if you're handling it correctly. Now, that's one of the things is people are like super afraid to feed their dog raw food because they think that it's going to make them sick. And you just have to do what you would do if you were cooking for your family. Like if you can go to the store and buy raw meat and cook it for your family without getting sick, that's because you wash your hands, you wash the plates, you handle it correctly, you store it in the fridge, you don't just like leave it out on the counter all day or leave it in the car. So those are things that are like really important. But actually, let me take a break. I was getting too excited. I need to answer some questions. So let's see if you guys had any questions about what I was saying. Isn't it possible the dogs are getting sick because the owners aren't doing it properly? Yes, that is very possible. Like I said, you have to wash your hands, make sure that the meat is good and everything and safe. And I think that's where they don't understand that it's not as easy as kibble. It's not just you have it sitting there all day. Your pet has to have meal times at that point and be fed during certain times of the day. And then also, like, if they don't finish their food has to be picked up. Whereas with kibble, you don't do that. Let me continue with this one really quick before I answer more questions. Okay, so next, what I also said is that the other thing people are afraid of is so that you're afraid of that the dog's going to get sick. But what people don't think about is that you're not talking about a human. You're not giving a human raw meat. You're giving a dog raw meat, and that is way different. They're a different species. So they have a different digestive system, and they have um, their intestinal tract is different, their stomach is different, they have a higher acid level than us. They are biologically prepared to consume raw meat, whereas we're just not. And then basically lastly I said, if you're still worried, then you can always cook the food, which is not something that I think is necessary at all, unless your dog is picky. Some dogs prefer warm food, but yeah, basically nothing's going to be better than kibble. So even if you're like, I can't feed raw, it's just too gross, or I'm too afraid of it, just cooking a meal for your dog is so much better than kibble. So yeah, that's kind of basically what I said on Instagram too, is that you can't compare a human to a dog. So let me answer some of these questions. Um, I know somebody was asking about supplements. I'm trying to find that question. Oh, Brittany, when feeding raw, are there specific vitamins or supplements that need to be added? So yeah, it's really good to add vitamins and minerals to your dog's diet. Some people just try to incorporate everything that they need by feeding greens or organ meat, things like that. But personally, I like to also add a vitamin. So I'll either use a tablet vitamin or an actual like supplement powder. And that just kind of, I think, also depends. You want to think about like the breed, the age of the dog, things like that when thinking about what you want to add to their food. But personally, I like to just use something that's general for all dogs, since mine are young and pretty healthy. Let's see. What else? Trying to skip to the questions on raw food. Piggy plays, is dog pellets kibble bad for dogs? Absolutely. And I have lots of videos about that. What's Crazy Cat 710? What's the best dog food? Raw food. Let's see. What else? Megan Elizabeth says, I want to do raw, but I think my dog, I don't think my dog would enjoy it because he's extremely picky. You never know until you try. In fact, he might just be picky because he knows that kibble and other types of dog food like that are just not biologically appropriate for him. Let's see. It says, Tenley Hammond. I feed my dogs moist and meaty, but I want to switch to raw. But my parents don't agree because they say it's too difficult because they would have to buy it sparingly instead of getting a lot at a time. I would encourage to actually buy a lot at a time. In fact, I think it's really good to have a deep freezer when you're doing a raw diet because you can buy the meats that are on sale. The meats usually like go on sale. Like, 1 week it's going to be beef and 1 week it's going to be pork and 1 week it's going to be chicken. And you can go to the store and get a lot of it for really cheap. And yeah, I don't think it's too difficult. It's more time consuming, but it works out pretty good actually if you do buy a lot of meat at once. Uh, is it okay to feed a mix of raw and kibble? Yes, that's okay. It's not ideal. It's not the best option, but that's better than nothing, basically. Animals raw. Could you put eggs in raw food? Yes, definitely. You can actually put the entire egg, the whole egg, just in the food. That's what I do for the Great Pyrenees for their food because they'll actually like crunch it and eat the entire thing with the shell. My corgis and Caspian will not do that. So I actually crack it open and feed them the egg, and then sometimes I'll put the shells into their vegetable blend. So I get a bunch of vegetables and put them in the blender because they do not like vegetables and they won't eat them whole. So that way it's a smoothie and I just kind of mix it into their food. But I'll actually put the eggshells in there so that they get some added calcium that way. Let's see. Horse lover 24 can you feed them sausages? So I don't recommend that. Sausages usually have spices and herbs and things like that added, and that is definitely something that could make your dog sick. Can dogs eat raw chicken? I feel like this person barely joined the chat, but yes, that's essentially what the last 15 minutes have been about. Uh, what kind of big meats, like cow, can you feed your dog? Basically, any types of big meats. You know, just really anything that you have access to. You can give them deer, elk, bison, things like that. Some people even do horse, but it just depends on what you can actually find. Are eggshells good for dogs to eat? The awesome kid. Yes, they are. So the eggshells, the reason that I feed them is because it is a great source of calcium, and it's also kind of like convenient too because you're gonna be feeding them eggs. Like I have laying hens, so I get a lot of eggs, and then that's just an easy source of calcium. Ashley J, do you feed your cats raw food as well? Since they're, I can never say that obli. I read this word all the time and I can't say it. How embarrassing. Carnivores. Actually, no. So my cats, I have tried to get them on raw food, and they're really difficult. They just straight out like won't eat sometimes if they don't like their food, and so it's been hard with them. And I would prefer to have them on raw, but it's not worked out over the last couple of years, basically. So I have instead given them kibble with wet food, and it's mostly wet food. But then I also include kibble because I feel like they need that extra protein that's in kibble. But it is a lot better than giving them just kibble, and it's a high quality food. Their canned food and kibble is high quality. Let's see. I think I need to get some water. I'll be right back. Okay, so where were we? Megan Elizabeth, our raw diet's different for different ages and breeds of dogs. We have an 8-year-old Shih Tzu? What would be different from your Pyrenees? So no, basically the diet is not different depending on the age or the dog breed, but you would do different things for each individual dog. So for example, my Pyrenees are they pretty much eat everything, so I can give them a whole egg. Whereas, like my Chihuahua, she can't chew on bones. She has really bad teeth. Chihuahuas are just known for having bad teeth. Plus, she's probably about 9 years old. So, with those two things combined, she has just really horrible teeth. So, I can't give her bones to chew on because they would actually break her teeth. So, for her, she doesn't get that. Instead, I'm going to, be adding the supplements and stuff to make sure that she gets what she needed from the bones, which is a source of calcium and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily that it's different for this breed or that breed. It's just the individual dog and what their needs are. For example, mine are outside on the farm a lot. They burn a lot of calories. So I like to include things, carbohydrates that are like rice, beans, potatoes, couscous, things like that. Whereas not everybody that feeds raw likes to feed that. And it's really also to your preference and what you feel is best for your dog and what works best for your dog. But it depends. I think you need to take into consideration lifestyle, what the dog's capable of, how healthy they are, how healthy their gums and teeth are, how healthy their immune system is. If you have a really sickly dog, then maybe you don't want to feed them raw. Maybe you want to cook it first. So it kind of depends on things like that. Uh, Horse lover. So if your dog likes peas, you can add peas to their meal or just keep it to eggs and meat. Uh, no, you can add peas to them. You can add all types of vegetables. I blend my dog's vegetables because they just hate vegetables, except the Pyrenees. They'll pretty much eat anything you put in their bowl. But my other dogs are more picky, so I blend it up so that they actually have to eat it. And they can't pick it out of their food. But if you have a dog that likes vegetables, that's great. You can just chop them up and give them whole pieces of vegetables to eat. And also grains if your dogs don't have grain allergies. Let's see this mood. Animals rock. My German Shepherd Koa loves elk. That's awesome. I've never been able to give my dogs elk. That's just not something that I have access to. I've never even eaten elk. It'd be super expensive to order it. And it'd be nice if I could just get it like locally. That'd be cool. But yeah, that's hard here. Hammond, do you have to prepare eggs for your dog? So no, they can just be raw eggs. If you want to give them hard-boiled eggs or scrambled eggs, whatever, that's fine too. A horse lover. Also, are there like meats you can't feed to this breed, but you can feed to, but you can with this breed, or can they eat all the same meats? All breeds can eat all the same meats. It just depends on like, of course, the dog. Some dogs are going to have it chopped up a lot. Whereas like with Caspian, I'll give him a whole bone. Like his are huge. He'll literally get a bone this big and just sit there eating it for a little while. So yeah, it's just any type of meat is fine. But for some dogs, you have to cut it up more. Lily Lily J wants to feed her Australian puppy a raw diet. That's awesome. You can start them on a raw diet right away. I kind of like to usually put puppies on like a cooked diet first if they've been on kibble. So cooking like chicken and rice for them to get them off of the kibble, and then moving them to a raw diet a little bit later. Animals rock. My dog always eats fruits, raw meats, and vegetables, and quail eggs. Oh, quail eggs. That's cool. It says, wait, can baby puppies eat raw meat? Yeah, technically. Although, personally, for puppies, if I'm going to put them from milk to raw, I will actually cook the food. So that's what I like to do for them. But yeah, they technically could. But I prefer like cooked soft foods like chicken, rice, things that are just going to be really easy on their stomach. Let's see. Emily's World, do you think it's a good idea to give carrots and apples plus bananas and cucumbers to dogs? Yeah, those are all good options. Carrots are good, apples, and bananas. Those are also really good options. The fruit, I would just not give a lot of, so you don't want to give like a whole apple or something like that, or on a daily basis. Bananas, yeah, same thing. Cucumbers, yes, dogs can eat cucumbers, but I wouldn't give them a lot of that because that could make their poop kind of runny. Could any other pets eat raw? Yeah, lots of pets could eat raw. My hedgehogs eat raw. Basically, all of my animals get a fresh food diet. Hi, Berry. You need attention. Do you want to say hello? Hello. uh, at what age can you start feeding a puppy raw meat? So, I usually cook it for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then transfer them to completely raw. If my dog has eaten kibble, okay, so the awesome kid says if my dog has eaten, what are they going off about? If my dog has eaten kibble for most of its life, can you just switch over to raw food? Yes. At any point in their life, you can switch over to raw food, but you should do it slowly. That's going to be easier, especially on an older dog for their digestive system. Let's see what else. If my dog's Crochet Princess, if my dogs are on kibble right now, how can I transfer them to raw? So what you do to transfer them to raw is you feed them um, a little bit of raw food and then slowly decrease kibble and increase the raw food. It could also be cooked food if you want to try doing that first and then transitioning them to raw. But whatever new food you're introducing to your dog, you start increasing that food and decreasing their kibble or whatever food that they're on currently. Okay, so I think I'm caught up on your questions here. Oh, here's one more. Angel says, "What happens if a dog has a bad reaction to the raw food?" So that's something actually important to talk about. A lot of people want to feed their dog better, but don't understand that their dog is actually going to go through a transition process where they're going to actually have a bad reaction. So what happens is that when you're transferring your dog to a better quality food, they're actually going to be cleaning out their system, their digestive tract, and detoxing. And they can get really bad diarrhea during this time. It's not that the food is making them sick. It's not that the raw food is bad for them. It's that they're just detoxing and they're getting rid of like all this crap basically in their digestive tract, and it's going to make them healthier and they're going to eventually just do better on raw. So yeah, don't stop feeding all of a sudden just because they did get diarrhea. That's something totally normal. I went to raw because my dog had really bad allergies. Oh, that's great. Okay, so I'm going to check on Instagram because I told you guys that I would answer some of your questions from Instagram. So let me check that out really quick. Um, so Driftwood Sailing says, "Is it expensive?" And then, um, is it expensive? So yes, feeding raw food is going to be expensive. However, if you're feeding your dog a high quality kibble, that's expensive. And I've actually noticed, I actually did some calculations with this recently, where a high quality dog food was actually more expensive per month than feeding dogs raw. And I think this depends on different factors. It depends on the type of food that you're feeding, like the kibble brand. It has to be something that's high quality. Let me think of examples. So Rachel Ray has really good high quality dog food that is not that expensive. I think it's like 40 to $45 a bag, which is um, more on the cheaper end when it comes to high quality kibble that has really good protein and no corn, no fillers, things like that. Whereas, let's say Blue Buffalo, Taste of the Wild is not a good brand, but and Blue Buffalo is actually not that great. But those are brands that are very expensive, and they they cost a lot more, like between $15 to $20, more than the previous one. And if between those two, even the cheaper one, Rachel Ray, I've calculated that I can actually feed the dogs raw food for much cheaper than buying that brand. And especially like if you're feeding Blue Buffalo, you can definitely afford to feed raw. And it depends on other factors too, like where you live, the cost of living that affects grocery store prices, and meats and things like that. So there's ways you can go about that. You can get a deep freezer. You can buy meats that are on sale. You can try local sources like farmers. Sometimes they'll, if they're going to butcher an animal, they'll sell you like the whole thing for like a certain price, which can be cheaper than buying packaged meat at a store. So there's a lot of options, and it can be expensive, but it is cheaper than a lot of other options when it comes to feeding dogs. So let me see. Did you guys have any questions? Um, okay, so let me jump over back to Instagram. Oh, I had another one here. This, let's see. Is it Sarah Farah Haney, I think? What are good pieces for someone who's trying to incorporate some raw to kibble and trying to have it clean the dog's teeth? So, if you're still feeding kibble but you want to offer some raw foods, I would definitely recommend muscle meats and a little bit of organs, but mainly muscle meats. So, because the dog food does have other stuff that they're getting from there, but not as much actual animal protein. So, I would do that. As far as to clean the dog's teeth, then raw bones. For example, my corgis, I like to buy them pork neck bones. Those are very cheap at the grocery store, but it's really cool because it gives them something to do. They have a bone to chew on for a while, and they're a good size for that breed, for like medium sized dogs. And it does help them clean their teeth, being able to grind on that. So yeah, and then Lily J 103. What are some foods you should not feed your puppy dog on a raw diet? Is there any things? Let me think. So, foods that you shouldn't feed them when they're on a raw diet. I think that people can overdo it on organ meats and stuff like that, where they go back to kind of feeding their dog byproducts, the waste of slaughterhouses. So, I would say focus a lot on muscle meats and not just like organs that are super cheap. I think that's something that's a problem. What else? There are certain types of foods that they shouldn't have, such as onions, garlic. Garlic is a natural antibiotic, which can be used sometimes, but it's not something that you just should be feeding them all the time. Yeah, let's see. Corn. I never give my dogs corn. Yeah, there's not really too much stuff. I think it'd be better to kind of get a list of foods that are not good for dogs online. And I think I even have some like in other videos. Okay, let me see. I put up a thing on Instagram. This one is from GMAC0606. Is all the food raw or cooked, more specifically eggs? So, like I said, the eggs can be raw. You can cook them if you want, but there's no need. Especially if you guys are getting eggs from the store, they're pasteurized. You can eat them raw. Your dog doesn't eat them cooked. Is all the food raw or cooked? So grains are cooked. So oats, rice, couscous, potatoes are cooked. So just regular baked potatoes, sweet potatoes, yams. Those things need to be cooked. Squash needs to be cooked. But a lot of all the meat can be fed raw, and then a lot of the vegetables can be fed raw. The reason that you cook certain things like squash is because it is difficult for them to break it down in their stomach, so that makes it a lot better for them. Um, Grains, of course, that's also easier to break down once it's cooked. So yeah, there are certain things that you will need to cook. Green Shaylin, have you always given your dogs a raw diet? Well, not always. Since I guess, kind of, had my own house, my own pets, like been living on my own, yes. Caspian, when I got him, was on a kibble diet and he was super, super difficult to feed. And that's actually kind of what got me started with raw, is just trying to get him to eat. So it started years ago, but yeah, like I think everybody has a place where they start, and if you haven't started yet, it's never too late. Let me see if I got all the questions from Instagram. I think I did. Okay. Uh, what's the worst type of meat to give a dog? The awesome kid. Um, let's see. I don't think there really is like a worst type to give to dogs, because like I think everything's pretty good to be able to feed them. Different types of birds, like cows, deer, goats. I think just like I said before, over supplementing them on organ meat is, I think, the worst thing you can do. Okay, so here's a good one. Frida Reese. Does feeding your dog raw diet make them more aggressive? So that was an interesting one. That's actually one of the questions that I got over the weekend about raw. Is somebody was saying that their parents say that the dog is going to get a taste for blood. That's not a thing. It doesn't happen. Dogs are not going to eat raw food and then be trying to kill people or other pets. Um, it's not true. There is no studies that support it. There's no evidence. Let's see what else. Your dog isn't going to know where its food comes from. Like, I'm positive that Caspian thinks he's like a vegetarian and only gets his meat from the store where no animals were hurt. Some people actually think that, like legit actually think that. But yeah, Caspian is the most docile animal I've ever met in my entire life. Actually, all my dogs are pretty good. All my dogs have been trained to be around small animals and stuff like that. So they are constantly around my other pets and within proximity of them. Like, I will let my chinchillas out to run around the room with my dogs in the room. And no, your dogs are not going to become aggressive or get a taste for blood. They don't know that that packaged meat is actually an animal. They just don't know. Now, if your dog kills an animal and then eats it, yeah, they can get a taste for that because they figured out like that is a food source. So that's different than actually feeding them meat. When they make their own kill, it's not that they tasted the blood and now they're aggressive and they're going to kill other animals. It's that they hunted that animal, they got food from that animal, and now they understand that that's a possibility for them. There's just no studies or anything like that. And I mean, you guys can see my pets. You can see them in videos, pictures on Instagram. They're constantly around other animals and they do not hurt them. Can you make a video of feeding your dog the meats? I did. Where have you been? I think you haven't looked at any of my videos. Let's see what else. Ow. Your nails on these parrots are so... Ow. Let's see. If if doing cooked food, can you prepare it in advance? Yes. You can cook the food for really like a month in advance and put it in the freezer, or you could do a week's worth and put it in the fridge. However you want to do it, but yeah, that's totally doable. Yeah. So let's see. What other questions on raw food? How much do you spend feeding Caspian each month? I'm not sure actually. It's kind of hard to like say. I usually don't keep track of it. Let me see if I have other things I wanted to answer from here. Beery. But it would be nice if that Andrew guy would actually list his sources in his video. It's really upset that he used my video clips and then didn't even give me like, but it's because if he had actually said who we were in that video, then people that were watching would have been able to go and watch us and get another perspective, basically. Get a realistic perspective. All right, if you're going to try to be funny by getting attention for something stupid, I will remove you. So it shouldn't be that hard to be mature while we're having a live stream. But for some people it is. I'm trying to see if there was any questions on my raw feeding video. Oh, okay. So here's one that was kind of funny is that when I did my raw feeding video of giving an example of how I feed my dogs, I was saying that I don't follow the barf diet. That's just, I kind of use methods from different types of feeding and kind of do what works best for my dog. And one of the things I said is, I don't know who came up with barf. How idiotic is that? And people got super offended by it, but it's not something to be offended by. It's just my personal opinion and kind of a joke because it's like you named a diet, a nutrition plan, barf. Like, who doesn't get that? Like, basically it means yuck. And yes, I understand that it's an acronym for something, but it's still a dumb acronym in my opinion. And that's fine if people don't agree, but people were like really mad that I said that barf was idiotic. But I'm not saying that the diet plan is, I'm saying that the acronym is idiotic. So yeah, that's something to clarify. But people, I think, just like are like sitting there watching videos on YouTube sometimes, just being like, "What can I be offended by? I must find something." Okay, let's see. Biologically appropriate raw foods. Yeah, I know, but it's still a dumb acronym. Barf. I feed my dogs barf. Abby Howard, can feeding a raw diet help prevent health issues? Yes. Like, for example, kidney issues, urinary tract infections, things like that. So, for example, like with my cats, they won't eat a raw diet because they're just annoying. But kibble is not the best option for them. So, since they won't eat raw, the next best option is basically wet food, and that's what I provide for them. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because so recently, you guys have probably heard that Grumpy Cat passed away. He was the like super famous meme cat that like looked really mad in all his pictures. Super cute cat. But one of the things that I think was really sad about it is that he passed away from a urinary tract. Actually, it might have been a she. I don't know. Was Grumpy Cat a she? Um, Passed away from a urinary tract infection that got really bad. Now, I I think that was like must have been really really hard on the owners, and I feel bad for them. But one of the things that I think is important to point out is that Grumpy Cat was a huge spokesperson for Friskies, and Friskies is a very very low quality cat food that is soy based. It has a ton of corn. It is horrible for cats. It's awful. And cats that are on these kibble diets that don't have animal protein, that are just soy, wheat, and corn based, do get urinary tract infections. And the reason that they're more prone to it than dogs, this is a problem in dogs too, but cats are worse about staying hydrated than dogs. And some dogs are bad about it too, but in general, cats are just really difficult to keep hydrated because they don't like to drink water, and they especially don't like to drink standing water from the pool. My lovely parrots. So with this, feeding your cat this food that's dry food and it's just corn, yeah, they have a lot of health problems for that. So it was, I guess, in a way, not really surprising that Grumpy Cat had these health problems when you look at the food that they were advocating, basically, which is crazy because it's like if you have that big of an influence, I mean, this cat was like a millionaire, basically. You have that big of an influence, you should be supporting something that is better for cats. And even if they wanted to do kibble, there's just so many better brands. So yeah, it was really sad. Grumpy was a she. Yes, that's what I thought. So it can prevent health issues like that. Also, Crohn's disease, I think is what it's called, is another issue that's coming up from spay and neuter and like a soy corn based diet. And that's another topic we have to have on these live chats, is talking about spay and neuter and when it's appropriate, if you have to do it, things like that. I think that's a good topic. Probably a topic people are really gonna freak out about, but yeah. Sophia wants to know what to feed her corgi. Check out my videos on. You can see what I feed my corgis, or you can look at my kibble video. I did a video where I rated several different brands of kibble. All of them, I think, are very different too. How do you handle the noise? It doesn't bug me. Honestly, if I'm not live streaming, I wouldn't have even noticed. But since I'm talking and I realize that you guys probably can't hear me if they're like screaming their heads off, I stop. But it doesn't bug me at all. And honestly, like the parrots that I have, the birds I have inside the house are not very loud. The loudest ones or the noisiest ones are my parakeets. They sing a lot, but it's kind of a soft, like chirping that's nice to listen to. Same with my canaries. Um, but like the green cheeks, they don't make a lot of noise. Evan sometimes screams, which is like kind of a behavioral problem. He is a rescue, which that one does get a little annoying. Barry is super quiet all day unless I get on the phone and then he's like, "Oh, we're talking." But he's super quiet until like the evening and then he gets really loud. But yeah, it's I don't really notice it. I am pretty grumpy that they gave the wrong food to the cat. Yeah, it's sad. The cat was 7 years old, which is pretty young for a cat. My oldest cat is 8 years old, and before that cat, I had a cat that passed away when he was 19. I had him from when he was a kitten. So yeah, that was really young for a cat, and even 19 is not like super old. Cats can live into their early 20s. I think the record right now for cats is one is 30 or was 34 and 36, which is that's kind of like extreme, but yeah, seven's not old. I have been streaming for an hour. Let me see. I want to make sure I answer people's questions from Instagram in case we got any more over there. Lily J103. Love you and your animals. Thank you for an amazing video. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Let's see. What else do we have here? The Jazz Ready 31. I feed my dog Purina 1 for muscle strength. Is raw food good for dogs? So Purina 1 is terrible. You should definitely watch my Kibble rating video because I did rate Purina. I don't remember if it was Purina 1, but I know I did do some rating on Purina. It's usually pretty bad. Haley C12. What raw food do you find has the most nutrients? So it's not necessarily that one's better than the other. It's that you need to eat a combination of it. Like, I think, even for humans, the best diet is to have a varied diet. Does anybody watch Dr. Zorba on NPR on the weekends? And he thinks that vitamins and supplements are a complete waste of money, that they're a scam, and that if you have a healthy diet, you don't need that. And I tend to agree with that. When applying it to dogs, I think it's a little bit different because with a human, you have access to so much food, tons of different types of food. So you should be getting everything that you need. Whereas with dogs, we don't have access to everything all the time. Kind of depends on what the availability is in your area, what you're being able to buy for your dog, what your dog is actually gonna eat. So I like to add supplements. But yeah, I think he's right. I don't think that it's that you have to eat one type of thing, that you have to make sure that they're getting a certain thing. It's I think just giving them a big variety on yourself. Like that's how you stay healthy. Is it true? Okay, so Kaylee May, is it true that dogs can have a whole chicken leg with the bone and digest it as long as it is raw? Yes. My dogs eat a lot of raw chicken, like drumsticks, thighs, stuff like that. That's really good for them. It's a great source of calcium, the bone, and everything. And yes, dogs can digest the whole thing. You do want to make sure that your dog can chew the bone. That's super important. So You don't want to give this to a dog that's just going to try to swallow it, because some dogs will. You want to make sure that your dog knows how to eat raw chicken. That's super important. But yes, if your dog knows how to sit there and chew on the bone and grind it and actually, eat it um, in pieces, like that, yes, it's good for them. It's not going to hurt them. So the reason you can't give your dogs chicken bones that are cooked is because they splinter. And if your dog is eating it and then swallows it, they can choke on it, or it can actually splinter inside the stomach and cause intestinal bleeding. It's a lot different than actually feeding them raw bones. Yep, crazy and wild baby. Cooked ones are the issue. That is so true. So I'm going to be signing off pretty soon. If you guys want to make sure to get in any last questions. And also, if you guys go over to Instagram or Twitter, let me know, what topics you want me to cover in future videos. I can see, what topics we cover. So I do the live streams on Mondays. I'm going to be going back to uploads on Friday pretty soon. I've just been having a lot of trouble finishing the All My Pets update video. It requires filming outside, and the weather's just been horrible. Right now, we have a wind advisory, and I'm like, a wind advisory now? Like, it's been windy for days, but I guess now it's worse than usual. Is a raw diet okay for a dog who's had multiple UTIs? So your dog is probably having UTIs because it's on a high carbohydrate diet and is not drinking enough water. I actually kind of wonder, like, has your veterinarian recommended Royal Canine for your dog with UTI problems? Because that's so common, and it's so frustrating because um, Royal Canine is used for, they have different like packages, and it's for different like breeds or different health problems or stuff like that, and they are creating the health problems. It's literally like, oh, feed this food for kidney stones, and the food is creating kidney stones. It's like the dentist handing out candies, you know, instead of like toothbrushes. That's essentially what that is. Okay, so yeah, I think that's. Oh wait, let's see. I think I have one more question. Um, oh my God, they did. Look at that. Yes, her vet recommended it for her in October after a really bad one. Oh my God, that's it's just like it like makes me angry at this point. Royal Canine is terrible. Absolute garbage. It's the same as Pedigree. It has the same ingredients. Pedigree is a very, very cheap dog food. I mean, with that dog food, you are getting what you pay for. But Royal Canine is ridiculously expensive. Just like it is crazy expensive. There's especially like the ones that are like special for special needs at the vet's office. Oh God, and it's complete garbage. It's the same food as that pedigree stuff. It is just corn, soy, hardly any animal protein. I think the one I reviewed on the video, on the Kibble rating video, was just byproducts, so it didn't actually have any meat in it. So yeah. Uh, Angel, okay, Megan is wrapping up. Let's go to Andrew's channel and rant on him, even if I'm the only one. It's not that I want people to rant on him. It's that, like, I just want to be like, hey, you stole these video clips from other creators on YouTube. Like, at least say who you got them from. I think that was shady. So, yeah, if you guys want to go over to Andrew Woods' video and be like, hey, that's Happy Tales, do that. That'd be cool. Uh, Yeah. So, somebody was asking about fish. Yeah, fish is good for dogs. Fish oil. No, we don't do any canned for like anything basically. So, yeah, if you wanted, if you wanted to do fish, you can do just like the frozen fish from the grocery store. I like salmon, but you can use different types as well. Oh, look, I'm gonna actually link it in the comments because this is like how frustrated I am that I never talk about other YouTubers doing videos or response videos to me. But I think that it was screwed up that he took my clips and Dr. Becker, Dr. Karen Becker's clips to say that no veterinarians support this while he's using video clips from a veterinarian. So there it is. I just linked it for you guys in the comment. All right, well, that's basically it. That concludes this live stream. So, like I said, you can go over to Instagram, Twitter, talk to me there. Sometimes I do Q&As. So, yeah, and also let me know if you guys want me to go back on It's been a long time, but maybe I'll go back. Bye.